In Parashat Vayishlach, we meet Yaakov and Esav when they meet together after a hiatus of 22 years. Actually more than 22 years that Jacob was with Laban, and then the period of time that it took until Jacob returns to his father's house. Many incidents occur at that time, and then a meeting takes place here in our this week's portion of Vayishlach. And the meeting is described in very interesting terms. Vayaratz Esav likrato, Perek Lamed Gimel, verse Dalid. Vayaratz Esav likrato, Esau runs to greet Yaakov. Vayechabkehu, and he embraces him. Vayipol al tzavarav vayishakehu, and he fell on his neck and he kissed him. And they wept. Now this is a very momentous meeting. And let me just say, in terms of the biblical commentary, Maaseh Avot Siman Levanim, what happens to the fathers is a foreshadowing of what will happen to the children. Esav represents the eternal Gentile in his relations to Israel, Jacob, in his relations to the Jewish people. And since one of the children of Edom, which is another name for Esav, is identified with Germany, Esav represents the Nazi Gentile. Esav represents the anti-Semitic Gentile. To the extent that Rashi brings a statement by Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, Halacha biyadua Esav sonei liYaakov. It is a law, just like an eternal law of nature, that Esau the Gentile will hate Jacob the Jew. However, the simple meaning of the verse doesn't say that. The verse says they embraced and they kissed and they wept. And this seems to be a true rapprochement between brothers. And it's interesting that the Masoretic tradition has dots over the word Vayishakehu, and they kissed. And usually when there are dots, it either means a greater emphasis or a lesser emphasis. Rashi brings one view of our sages, that it means that he did not kiss him really, genuinely, sincerely, less than Vayishakehu. The Netziv brings a different version, and that what it means is, that's the Rosh Yeshiva of the Volozhin Yeshiva of Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, that Vayishakehu means a greater emphasis. There was truly love. There was a desire for rapprochement. And they came together in love. The idea being that when Esau is ready to say, let bygones be bygones, and when Esau extends a loving hand to Jacob, Jacob should return that loving hand and allow for the rapprochement to take place. We're living in very special times. And the second interpretation of the Netziv is as relevant as this morning's newspaper. Undoubtedly, for 2,000 years since the origins of Christianity, there's been tremendous enmity between the Jews who reject Jesus as the Son of God, certainly, we're all children of God, as the Messiah, because after all, the Messiah must come at a time when there will be peace in the world, and there is no longer peace in the world. Certainly Jesus didn't bring peace in the world. Because we rejected Jesus, the day of Jesus' birth, Christmas Day, has always been a day for pogroms. Has always been a day for murder to the Jews. And there's no question but that Hitler could never have sowed his horrific seeds of anti-Semitism and reaped the gains of those seeds through the crematoria of Auschwitz and Treblinka, had it not been for the anti-Semitism throughout the ages of the Church. The verse from the Gospel according to Matthew, when according to the story in the Gospels, which is an impossible story because it's historically impossible, that the Jews had the right to free one of the Roman captives, and Jesus was a Roman captive. The Jews never had that right, but they have the Jews crying out to Pontius Pilate, "Don't free him, and let his blood be on our hands and the hands of our children forever." And that's really Christian anti-Semitism. And the Christians have said, first of all, they replaced the Jews as God's chosen people, and that to a great extent the Jews deserved everything that happened to them in terms of the pogroms and the persecution. "1965, the Church made an about-face in a very important encyclical, Nostra Aetata, Our Age, in which the Church decries anti-Semitism, in which the Church decries and rejects recessionism, that we took that the Church became the new Jews. They're not only against anti-Semitism, but they maintain that God doesn't regret his covenants, and the covenant that he made with Israel is still intact. And in effect says that the Jews have a straight path to God, even without Jesus. I can only tell you that because the Church, and of course the evangelical churches who never had the Catholic anti-Semitism, and they grew up in the main in the United States, the evangelical church, even in Asia today, loves the Old Testament, as they call it, and feels tremendous kinship with Israel. And the best friends the Jews have in the world are those evangelicals who are not necessarily out to destroy us, to convert us. Those who are out to convert us, I don't deal with them. But there are many, many great evangelical Christians, most notably Pastor Hagee of San Antonio, Texas, who is a wonderful lover of Israel. Stand behind us, and stand behind us 200%. And I say 200%, they stand behind the settlement communities as well, very strongly and very vociferously. They have proven their heart for us. And Vayishlach, as explained by the Netziv, when they kiss us, we must kiss them back. It's very important for us to understand this new rapprochement, this new development. And as long as they're not out to convert us, we must accept their hand of friendship and march together with them against Islamic terrorism and do whatever we can together to prove that the true ethical monotheistic religions are standing strongly for peace. This is a miracle after 2,000 years. This Rapur Shema, this Vayishlach of Isra. And it behooves us to respond in kind. Shabbat Shalom.